enjoying my name is Coco34. Made today to another episode of the Prehistoric Subject Files, and today we're going to do a creature, a rhino, rhino called Forstercooperia. Forstercooperia. It's a really hard word to say, but this is an extinct genus of Indracartherian hyracodontid rhino from the middle to late Eocene of Asia, so around 40 to 34 million years ago. It's known from cranial material, and the largest species is Forstercooperia totodentata, followed by F. confluens, and finally the smaller species, which is F. minuta. And yeah, it's just a weird looking Indracartherid, but it's very unique in that basically what I'm going to describe today is really weird. I've never seen, I've seen like stuff like this before, but it's really weird how it happens. So basically it's average sizes for this animal around dog size, and each species is distinguished by having basically different cheek teeth and morphologies, and also the skull morphologies are quite similar. That's how you kind of like distinguish that these are in the same genus. They have a blunt end tipped nasals above the nasal incisions, and lack something called the rugocytes, which basically means that they lack the classic rhino horn. The nasal incisions extend fairly far into the upper jaw and end at the posterior point of the canines. Now they have small post incisor distema, basically similar to Hyracoddon. And basically, yeah, that's pretty much a brief description of what I can give initially of this animal. Alright, so we're going to go and get into the extensive history of this particular genus. So, we start off in 1938 when the holotype of Forstercooperia totodentata was found, I believe, in Erdin Manha Formation. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that I butchered that. Then in 1963, the genus known as Papaceres confluens, that's the species, was discovered. But actually, it turns out later on that this particular genus was actually in the same genus as Forstercooperia, and actually this is the second species I was talking about, Forstercooperia confluens. And that was discovered in the same region. Then they found Forstercooperia minuta. Minuta. It's weird names. Minuta, and it was based off of a maxilla from the, guess where, the Erdin Manha formation. So the same formation as the type species, and that's one of the weird things. Other specimens from Asia have been assigned to this genus, but I'll get into more detail about them. There are some other species named, such as, Forstercooperia siwopensis, which was from the Luin formation of China, but that's been shown to maybe be either a different genus or maybe one of the species of Forstercooperia. Forstercooperia confluens is basically including Asian material of what was once considered a valid species of Forstercooperia, known as Forstercooperia grandis, which was known from the Sharamurun formation and the Ulansharia formation, the Holgin formation, as well as the formation that the first Forstercooperia were found in, the Erdin Mahan formation. And then Forstercooperia minuta is basically known from specimens only from the Erdin Manha formation. It's really hard to say. I'm really sorry. And also, there's been possible material found in the Sharamurun formation of China, as well as the Kolpak formation of Kazakhstan. And also, there has been North American material assigned to this particular species. So, Forstercooperia minuta. Basically, yeah, it's really hard to say. I hate those words. But yeah, that's basically a brief description. I think I'm going to have to get into a more detailed description of this particular genus. So yeah, basically, we get into the history basically starting from 1923, when a mostly complete early rhinoceros relative was unearthed from the late Eocene of Mongolia in the Erdin Manha formation, and is the front of a skull with premolars and some front teeth, and the specimen was called AMNH20116. Then in 1938, George Olson described it as Cooperia totodentata. Then in 1939, he was actually corrected to Forstercooperia by Wood, as Coopria was actually found to be basically preoccupied by another animal. So then Coopria, the genus, is actually a junior synonym to Forstercooperia. So the species Coopria, the species Coopria totodentata is actually a junior synonym to Forstercooperia. Then in 1963, a partial skull teeth were discovered in the late Eocene deposits of Mongolia. Then on July 25th that same year, Papaceras confluens was actually classified as a close relative to Forstercooperia within Forstercooperianae. Then it was assigned to Forstercooperia as Forstercooperia confluens. Then in 1981, Forstercooperia confluens was considered Forstercooperia grandis for some reason, and then Forstercooperia grandis was actually going to go over and become valid to the Forstercooperia genus. But as we all know, pretty much Forstercooperia grandis is actually a synonym to Forstercooperia confluens. Then in the 1960s, earlier. Before 1981, obviously, material was actually found that was assigned to Forstercooperia sp. So basically, it was assigned to the species, but wasn't classified as a species. But then later on, it was actually found to be Forstercooperia minuta. Then Holbrook and Lucas actually identified North American Forstercooperia minuta specimens, or what they thought, but then it turns out these aren't actually Forstercooperia, and they're actually reassigned to a new species known as Winterceras radianskaya. 1974, an upper row tooth was described from the Eocene as Forstercooperia siwupensis, and that was found in the same region as Forstercooperia totodenta. Though it's now considered to be around the same size as Forstercooperia totodentata, so therefore maybe a synonym. 1977, Gabunia. Sorry, I keep butchering these names. I'm really sorry. I'm an idiot. Gabunia actually described dentition assigned to Forstercooperia sp, meaning basically it's not been assigned to a species, from Kazakhstan's Sargamis formation. Then it was actually assigned to Forstercooperia crudus, but now that's been considered to actually be a numinubium. It's really weird. I hate that word, numinubium. And then actually it was then assigned to Forstercooperia minuta, so it went from basically a species of Forstercooperia to then numinubium, and then to a valid species of Forstercooperia. 1997, more material was found from the Kolpak formation and was assigned to Forstercooperia minuta. I'm just going to call it that from now on, minuta. And basically it meaning that Forstercooperia minuta, they thought, lived at the same time as Forstercooperia crudus, but then basically it's found out that Forstercooperia crudus is actually Forstercooperia minuta. Then in 1976, Forstercooperia totodentata, Forstercooperia grandis, Forstercooperia confluens, Forstercooperia charamurens, and Forstercooperia borisiaca, I think that's how you pronounce it, were considered the only valid species, and then were created into new combinations such as Juxia charumenes, Hyrachias grandis, and Papaceras borisiaca. But now we know that the only valid species of Forstercooperia are actually Forstercooperia totodentata, Forstercooperia confluens, and Forstercooperia minuta. So basically, these species, even though they were combined into the other genera, are technically valid. They're valid enough to become their own genus. And basically, from this point on, no North American material is considered valid to Forstercooperia, and Forstercooperia now is its own genus, and again is an Introcothera, and it's actually really closely related to Juxia, which is basically a relative to Introcothera. So basically Forstercooperia is very closely related to Introcothera in a sense. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm sorry for the lack of images. I couldn't find many images of Forstercooperia. It's a really weird Introcothera. The history is very weird. But at the same time, it's kind of fascinating how all these species actually lived in the same area at the same time, but some of them were more geographically distributed, and that's cool. That's cool in my eyes. But that just shows how easily that